Welcome to this week's Spinfoil Theory. We're about to take a dive into another mystery from the lore of Destiny the Game. Specifically, we'll be giving high-level scrutiny to popular, emerging, and outlying theories than judging them. If you have any questions or theories of your own, write to us at spinfoiltheory@gmail.com or visit us over at spinfoiltheory.com. And now, let's put on our spinfoil hats and get a little crazy. Here comes this week's show. Okay, this time we're doing it right.
All right.
Are you sure?
Doing it no more.
No, I'm kidding.
I hope so, because I don't know how many restarts I have.
I mean,
I don't know how many I'm allowed.
I clicked record at the same time as you, so hopefully, this is
everything
going
should be
according
fine.
to plan.
Yay! All right. Well, welcome to the Spinfoil Theory podcast, everyone. This is your host Taylor-B with your other host, LadyLucida. How you doing, Lucy?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. We got snow on the ground here in the lovely land of Ohio. I'm not from Ohio. I'm moved here recently, and seeing snow before Thanksgiving is weird. I'm not used to that yet. My girlfriend, she said, yeah, it's gonna pretty much welcome to the next weather for the weather for the next 4 months. I'm like, oh, lovely. Glad I totally packed my winter stuff. Spoiler alert, I did not pack any of my winter clothes whatsoever, because I'm stupid.
I was going to say, you should have known about winter stuff.
I mean, I did, but I don't really have winter, clothes and stuff, because it doesn't ever get this cold in Washington, ever. We maybe see snow, once, maybe, but, yeah, normally we don't get snow that much, so my, winter gear is, a thicker jacket. So I have thermals. I have my good snow boots. That's literally the only thing I have here is my snow boots and a beanie and scarves. I have some snow stuff. I don't have gloves or my really nice winter jacket because that's at my parents' house because it literally just arrived a couple weeks ago. My Deep Stone Crypto jacket. It only took 84 years. It took over a year to get there. I've ordered the raid jackets before, and normally it's, 9 months. Maybe. But yeah, my friend and I, we were literally in, the last batch to go out. So we cried. Many tears.
Oofed.
Yeah. But
Oofed. Oh, man.
My biggest worry is I just hope it fits. Because I'm because I ordered the Crown of Sorrows jacket in the wrong size. And I learned from that. I'm all right, I did the measurements and everything. I'm this size, so one size up is this. So this should fit. And if it doesn't fit, I'm going to be very mad because I won't have a winter jacket. It should fit, but I'm worried it won't. That's nightmare fuel to me right now.
I understand. Well, I hope it fits. I believe in you.
Thanks.
In your ability to learn from past
mistakes,
jackets.
Yes. What even made me really mad is I posted it on Twitter and someone said, "Oh, I was able to get my jacket in a different size," and I was like, "Huh?" And I did the thing that they said, and a bunch of support said, "No, no resize for you," and I'm like, "But this okay."
I'm sorry, this has come in one size fits Lucy, so.
Well, no, I ordered it in the wrong size. That was on me, but it was frustrating because I was really excited and looking forward to the Crown of Sorrows jacket because it looked nice and everything. But when that King's Fall jacket comes out, I'm gonna quadruple check everything. I'm utterly convinced the raid that's coming back is King's Fall, and if it's Wrath of the Machine, I'm gonna be mad.
Would they really bring back Wrath of the Machine?
I mean, Joe Blackburn and some of the other people, they did an interview, I think with PC Gamer. It's one of the many different, gaming article people. And they talked about the raid they're bringing back, and they said it's not a small one. So that eliminates Crota. But they didn't specifically say what raid it was. So people are like, oh, it's going to be Wrath. And people are like, no, it's going to be King's Fall. And now everyone's arguing. In my friend group, I think it's split 50-50. Or I guess it's, about 50-50. Some people really want King's Fall, like me. I really want King's Fall. Other people really want Wrath. And I'm like, why? why would they bring back Wrath in a hive-centric... I mean, then again, Vogue didn't really have anything to do with Beyond Light.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't Wrath of the Machine... Is that a Vex?
No, Wrath of the Machine is...
Siva.
Siva, yeah. The variant. Yes. The variant of Elixni, which...
I mean, if we're talking
because Bungie's really big on, like, you know, storage and compartmentalizing. That's kind of the reason why all of the enemy factions are all the same, technically. Like, we only have one Elixni house now, one Vex subtype, etc. That was because it's so many different assets for, you know, oh, we have the, you know, the Elixni in 4 different colors. Oh, we have the Hive in 4 different colors. That's why they compartmentalized. I mean, now we do have, you know, we're going to have 3 different versions of the Hive again, but that's different. It seems, basically what I'm trying to say is it seems really weird for Bungie to bring back the Sivified Fallen for one raid and not use it anywhere else. That seems like a really poor use of resources. And then on top of that, they would have to redo the Cosmodrome, because the first part of the raid takes place in the Cosmodrome, in the Moth Yards, or Rocket Yards, which doesn't exist currently in Destiny 2.
That's true. That was from the expansion.
Yeah, with King's Fall, a lot of the bosses are already in D2, just reskinned. Like, we have Golgoroth's model from Escalation Protocol. The High Celebrant is literally War Priest. I mean, the daughters are just regular wizards with pyramid heads. And then there's Oryx, which we already have the Shade of Oryx from Reckoning. And with Season of Arrivals, all of those times we went into the Ascendant Plane, that was Dreadnought assets. And even when you fought Nokris, that literally was the Court of Oryx, which is where King's Fall starts. So, I'm thinking it's King's Fall, because they already have a lot of the same stuff already in D2, and because if it's King's Fall, then I'll finally be able to recreate my look for my Hunter that I had in D1, in D2. That's the main reason I want King's Fall, because...
But Lucy, those are all very good points, but what about Wrath of the Machine?
Shut up, Taylor, no! No, because, like, some people are like, oh, look, there's Siva-themed stuff in the store, and the mechanics for astral alignment with the, carrying the batteries, that's one of the mechanics in Wrath of the Machine, therefore the raid has to be Wrath of the Machine, and I just look at them and I'm like, what? What? That doesn't... Just because it uses the same mechanics, it doesn't mean that raid is coming back. I mean, yes, yes, but I don't know. It's just interesting, I guess. That's like the only argument for Wrath. It's like, oh, some of the mechanics are already in. And I'm like, yes, you make a good point. However, would Bungie really go through all of this, I won't say pain and suffering, but like... the
extra work to make it
the extra work
where we are
for now. Just one faction, because like the Sivified Elixir Fallen, they don't show up anywhere else in Destiny 2. It's kind of like I have the same kind of thought process with them adding in Scorn Champions. Like, why would they add in Scorn Champions and everything if there's not going to be more Scorn-centric stuff, cough, cough, the raid, later on.
Yeah, I assume it's going to be a big focus, this one in particular.
Yeah, definitely, because the Scorn are kind of buddy-buddy with the Darkness now, same like the Taken, which is pretty exciting, I think.
Yeah, or it's just purely to bring Fikrul back, right? Because obviously he's supposed to be immortal now. Well, yeah. He's always been immortal, but... Yeah.
He's always been, yeah. But now it's... With the Tangled Shore going away, does that mean Fikrul is dead? Is he moving operations? Is he still in charge of the Scorn? Because of the...
We're just going to get random reports of, like, if they killed Fikrul this week. Yeah, we sent a fire team. They killed Fikrul. He's
killed
gone.
Him. They killed him for real.
Have they given a canonical reason why the Tangled Shore is moving? Or we're not that far yet? Obviously, this is we're predicting. But
I don't think so. They haven't really given a lore reason yet, like they have with everything else. They just said, "Hey, Tangled Shores going in the content vault when Witch Queen comes out." So
it makes sense.
I think it's interesting. I mean, it makes sense because you've seen kind of the lore, especially with Mara coming back this season. She literally put a kill order on Spider. She said, once this whole thing is done with Savathun, Petra, take your best Corsairs and deal with Spider. And I was like,
it's funny because Spider pretty much knew that was coming. So he's
he definitely
already
knew that was
been
coming,
prepared before she showed up.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I don't know if he's going to like sneak into the last city and be in the Elixni Quarter and, help, with air quotes, or if he's going to get got.
He's got to be... I hope it goes to the underground portion of the Elixni Quarter. We don't
that is true. There is that underground portion. So maybe he'll just live
Would he really enter the... Actually, now that I say it out loud, he would totally just sneak into the last city.
Yeah. I mean, there is a...
Be like, no, my name is the Scorpion. You have a completely different Elixni.
Totally,
get out of here.
Yeah. Well, he already has some of his goons already in the last city posing as refugees.
Right, and the Drifter's there already,
and the
too.
Drifter's
so
like, sure, I'll smuggle
sense.
you out of the Tangled Shore into the last city. I can do that. Maybe. So yeah, it's really interesting.
That's the only other place for him to go, really.
Really,
in terms of that would be advantageous to his operation.
Yeah. But then what'll be interesting is since we're allies with the Dreaming City, and if, he's in the last city, and we find out about it, Mara's gonna be like, give me the Spider. Instead of us saying, no, he's a refugee, we'd be like, oh, him? Sure, take him. Don't care. Adios. Bye-bye. Like, I don't know how many more cards I guess Spider has left to play that he can really do anything. He's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now because, Mara's coming for him. She's very mad for his treatment of Aldrin/Crow.
It seems, I don't know. I think Spider's going to make it somewhere. I think Elixni Quarter's a great candidate.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though he's unique, he would have probably the best chance of blending in there. Or he might take it. I mean, he could take it any number of ways. Like, what if wherever the Spider goes is how we get to Old Chicago, like the gangster he is.
I was just thinking that.
I could see that. He's like a gangster. I could definitely see that. I wonder where Drifter is going to smuggle him to. Because Drifter said, all right, I'll do it. But...
Oh. Groovy. Before we get too far away from it, everyone, you've probably heard its voice already, but we have a special guest with us today. We have Smart Hopewell, the Psalmlab, content creator, video maker, and lore extraordinaire.
Hello,
how are you doing, sir? How are you doing this week?
Yeah, doing pretty good. It's been an okay week. It's not been as busy as it usually is, but it's nice to for things to wind down for the end of the year, per se, I guess. So, yeah, looking forward to Christmas.
Nice. I can dig it. That is a fun holiday. Getting all the gifts to give to people is. I always have this weird thing because I used to love going out to like a bookstore or something or like the mall. Mm-hmm. And kind of just walking around, and if something like said the person's name to me, like that's their present. That's how I like to shop. With last year, I did not do that, COVID, and with this year coming back around, I'm still kind of hesitant. So I have to
gift vouchers.
Have to come up with a new criteria. Yeah, right.
Gift vouchers are the future. Honestly, I mean. I got a few gift vouchers for my birthday this year, and I seriously appreciated them because I was just able to get, the practical things I needed, whether it be clothes or like if it's foodstuffs or just, I don't know, stationery stuff or stuff like that. It's helpful.
I can dig it. Yeah, that's a smart one. I should consider that. But this week, Smart, you're joining us with a pretty interesting theory on the new expansion coming out. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so my thinking was that perhaps Savathun's Throneworld is an illusion on some level, in that this is a character who inherently is a liar and has done nothing but that since the first time we even heard of her, all the way from Fundament to now. And so it would make sense that some elements within that Throne World are not what they seem, and maybe some of it could be deemed a wild guess by Savathun of what the future could be. I'm not 100% sure about the pyramid. Obviously, the pyramid, we've been told, will involve a raid, and it's cracked open, so that's interesting in itself. So there's huge question marks, I think, with Savathun's Throne World. What's in that pyramid? Who cracked the pyramid open? Stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, my theory is just that maybe everything she says isn't what it seems, and that's basically how she's operated up to this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting.
I could definitely see that it's like an illusion. Like, what's real, what isn't real. Kind of reminds me of, if you guys have seen, like, any of the Marvel cinematic movies, kind of like, the most recent Spider-Man one where he's fighting Mysterio. Mysterio's projecting all these illusions, and you don't know what's real, what's not. Kind of reminds me of that. A little bit. But I could definitely see Savathun being all like, this is all fake. Haha. But on the flip side, if this is real, then it has a lot more ramifications for us Guardians. Which is also scary.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the hive thing is real.
Yeah.
It's definitely like, I think that's going to be interesting to find out how she got access to the light. My theory is that she, obviously, having her worm removed probably kills Savathun. Just from the way that, I don't know, I've kind of been going over a lot of the things that like the encounters we've had this season that just ended, season the last, well, it's coming to an end, I guess. And it seems to me like she really wants to get the worm removed. And there's been no evidence of, if it is removed, if she'll survive that process. So my assumption is that she probably dies, and she uses a ghost, which she's used necromancy to create, to revive her as a guardian, but by force?
Interesting.
So that she has access to the light. I don't even know if that's possible, but so far in Destiny, things aren't supposed to be possible have happened. So that's one theory that I had about how she gets access to the light, and then obviously she just replicated that process for the rest of her brood.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe.
Well, that's where I start to wonder, right? Because if she dies, and I think it's very plausible that, you know, you would die if you remove your worm, does that mean she can't do any of the space magic, though? Does that mean she can't hide her death? Do you need the worm to be able to do that? Or are the worms just sort of the catalyst, what allowed the hive to sort of study and wield that magic? Because I'm convinced, even with a ghost, that doesn't mean the hive magic goes away. It just means now also ghost powers.
Ooh.
Well, the hive logic is based on the sword logic, and the sword logic comes from the worms, which came from, well, we're told the deep, whether that be the entity or the darkness that we know of, even though we still don't really know what darkness is. But anyway, that's different podcast for another time. But like I would argue that without the worm, she doesn't have the ability to do anything, or so it would seem anyway, because somehow the hive's logic seems to be so extensive that it bypasses even what the original workings of their power was. So it's one of those weird things, and I think you get a glimpse of that when when Crota cuts into the Vex homeworld, and you get all these different kind of Vex come through. But it's his interactions with Curia that's really fascinating, because Curia essentially analyzes the sword logic and then masters it within a short space of time, and then is able to use that to essentially mimic or almost identically produce demonstrate hive abilities. Anyway, I mean, that's what we're kind of led to believe, that there's no certainty in that. You guys know the law is super ambiguous, but it's just interesting that the hive logic, I assume, is based off of paracausality on some level, because obviously it comes from the worms and the worms come from the darkness. So it's interesting to me that Curia was able to replicate that, and then even project Oryx's former self, and then enough so that Oryx could have a conversation with himself pre-Oryx, which is interesting. But yeah, but back to the point, just that it's possible that maybe without the worm she's completely powerless, because that's what Mara seems to believe. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Well, one thing that makes me curious about this is, if I think of the first thing that comes to mind is the sort of reverse of that situation, which if we go back to Crota, since he's been brought up, and Toland learns the death song, everything dies, his ghost included, but he's able to come back.
Yeah, I found that weird.
It is kind of weird. And it's not like he comes back as a guardian either. He comes back as this sort of wisp.
He's a ghost.
That we follow around.
Little spooky ghost.
He's a little spoopy ghost.
Spoopy ghost. Not like an
R
ghost.
If that's actually him or like a familiar.
Ooh, maybe.
Ooh,
and
maybe
he's actually somewhere else, just watching through the familiar.
It's like a conduit. Like he's really in the ascendant plane, because it's really interesting. He does do that quote of that poem where he's like, dancing and floating above everyone. Mm-hmm. He's all impressed with himself. So it's kind of... Lucy, what do you think?
What do I think? If that's really Toland, or if it's something else, like a little projection
or the
of
hive.
Toland?
Or like the hive getting the light.
I think Savathun has all of these little puzzle pieces, She learned necromancy from Nokris. She has a bunch of light stored up from the Endless Night. That's what the whole point was. She basically was stealing the light from the last city. She has all these dead ghosts she got from Crow while posing as Osiris. Plus, she knows the little, I guess not really checklist, but devotion, bravery, sacrifice. I think all of that put together is how she steals the light. So I think it's legitimate, which is also terrifying a little bit, because that kind of takes what we know as true, hence survive the truth. And yeah, but with Toland, I think that's really interesting, because with the death song that the Death Singers sing, it kills everything except for the people singing it. So it makes sense that if Toland sang along with the Death Singers, he would live. But how he became the little ball, I'm not... That's the part that's kind of weird, because it's like even his ghost was like, go for it, dude. Which I thought was kind of funny. But I'm not...
Yeah, his ghost was like creepily enthusiastic.
I know, that's what I'm like. I want, for my backstory...
That was also very weird.
Yeah, it kind of shows that, especially we have Toland's ghost, we have the story of Catabasis and his ghost, his ghost got corrupt too, so I'm thinking ghosts are just as easily corruptible as guardians.
Yeah, that would make sense, because they are sentient. They're like the next... I mean, in terms of AI within Destiny, we had Rasputin, we have Failsafe, and then it's literally the ghosts.
Yeah. So
it
I
makes
just think
sense
it's
that they're
interesting.
corruptible.
Yeah, that they're that they can go bad. And I wonder if I'm just curious to see if we're able to like hear any of the Hive Ghosts' perspective on like how do they feel about rezzing Hive? Are they okay with it? Do they feel like are they like evil ghosts, so to speak? Are they not?
Yeah, that's a great question, because the trailer that we saw, which I want to assume is either one full cinematic or it's like individual pieces cut from one large different
different cinematics. Yeah.
It kind of leads us to believe that Savathun is controlling them, which would make sense, because obviously she's used everything Nokris taught her.
Yeah. And she still also, I forgot, she does have the Crown of Sorrow too, which is now a mind control device now instead.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did a video on that a while back, and there's nothing concrete, but like that was the question I was asking, is like, does Savathun have the Crown of Sorrow now? Because obviously Savathun posing as Osiris got access to the hidden archives, which was in the last city, and in that archives is the Crown of Sorrow. So be interesting. So it just makes me wonder if the crown that we see that she's wearing in all those clips and all the promotional art is just the Crown of Sorrow, but morphed.
Possibly.
To, suit her needs.
I could definitely see that, because she was the original, I wouldn't say original owner, but she's the one who left it for Callus to find, and then Callus is like, I'm gonna put this hat on a baby. And then Galron. Crown of Sorrow raid happens. I always thought that was so funny.
Yep.
That Galron
Or sorry,
was
bear.
a baby. Put the Crown of Frowny on the baby.
Oh no. Tantrum time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's interesting, because you remember that theory back in D1, you guys, where people thought that maybe our ghost was Dr. Shin?
Interesting. I vaguely remember hearing about that. Yeah.
It comes from that story mission where you're defending from the Hive, actually.
Is that the Hive? No, that was on Venus. That was on Venus. I think it's the... Yeah, you're going into the Ishtar Collective. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's on Venus.
Maybe, all right, well, you're defending against someone.
Yeah.
And when Ghost finally turns on the computer system, it's like, greetings, Dr. Shin.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember some people thought that maybe us, like the Guardian, was Dr. Shim, too.
Mm-hmm. Or it's just an automated response, maybe, to whoever switches on. I don't know.
Possibly. Or the Ghost, when the Ghost hacked it, that was just the credentials that the Ghost grabbed, but we don't know.
So, this makes me wonder, especially with all the things you hear from Glint about where they were in their existence before being released as ghosts.
Definitely.
It makes me wonder if maybe something similar is going to happen with the Hive. Like maybe those ghosts are going to be, souls of Ascendant Hive or Hive warriors.
Possibly. That could make sense. I mean, because in the Inquisition of the Damned lore book, there's the whole lore book is about basically ripping people's souls out and putting them in other bodies. So Savathun could be like, alright, taking these guys, ripping your soul out, using Hive Necromancy, alakablam, bring back because if you just use Hive Necromancy on a ghost, it's not gonna have a soul, or you know, I guess it really depends on, is a ghost a machine, like a fully 100% machine thing, or is it like a sentient light in like a robotic casing? We don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's what's great. It's great and also crazy is that it's all of the above, and then probably like a million times more at the same time in terms of what the ghosts are. I only think of that because, I only say that because look at the Vex. Like, the Vex are microorganisms suspended in in fluid that take over machines, which is just far out.
Yeah, I can dig that. Well, and it makes me wonder too, with the whole necromancy thing. The whole idea is that at least with Nokris, is you're feeding the one worm now, and your worm is a worm god.
Yeah.
So if the worm is taken out of the equation, how does the necromancy help?
Yeah, that's where it's like, I'm not sure how it all...
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in total, wasn't there 5 worms?
Yes, it was Akka, Ir, Yol, and Zol.
And then Zol, yeah.
Yeah, there's the 5 worm gods.
Akka is still alive, right? No. Akka is who Oryx got rid of.
The one that Oryx...
And then Zol, we took out.
Yes, and then all that's left is Ir, Keeper of Order, the Ever-Hungry, and Yol, the Honest Worm.
Oh, so we still have a whole 3. Oh, man. This story is going to go on for a while.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, like, I'm curious, because we still have, the final shape. We have Lightfall and the final shape. And we have 3 worm gods left, plus Xivu Arath. I'm not counting Savathun, because Savathun's the main antagonist of Witch Queen. So I'm curious to see if we'll deal with the worm gods like in the Light versus Dark saga or afterwards. We don't know. Like, that's what really boggles my brain, is like all of Destiny so far has been, this pivotal battle between, the darkness and the light in this wager. And then once the wager's done, what happens? What do we do? Like, my brain explodes.
Well, I think that's what's interesting, isn't it? Like, so far within the storyline, we've always had a new major player show up, I guess, on the chessboard. There's always like...
Yeah.
There's all the rooks, and then you've got the knights, and then there's like the bishops, and then... So I feel like every time we turn a corner, there's another person in the way. Savathun, I think, is somebody who will ultimately escape, just because that's her character. I at least I hope. I feel like Xivu Arath may be the one that is kind of like gotten rid of easily. I don't know. That's kind of how she's being made out to be. But we'll see, because obviously like they're against each other, and once she finds out that Savathun is now wielding the light, maybe she'll want to join her sister or be against her. I don't know. So that'll be interesting in itself.
I think out of the 3 siblings of Oryx, Savathun, and Xivu Arath is the most, I guess, devoted to the worm gods, like utterly, or the darkness / worm gods, especially now. She's very, I think she's not, at least if I remember correctly, in the Shattered Realm, there's dialogue where I think they say that Xivu Arath is getting orders, not from like the worm gods, but from the capital D darkness itself. So I think that's terrifying. Personally, I think
same.
Xivu Arath is terrifying. Like, the cryptoliths scare me, because guardians can get infected by those a little bit. I mean, if Sagira hadn't sacrificed herself, we would have been dealing with a Wrathborn Osiris. And you saw how many supers
100%.
he blasted in like 2 seconds. He must have an intellect of like 15 bajillion to get supers that fast, but I digress. It's, because with Xivu Wrath, it's endless fighting. And it's basically, especially when she's fighting Guardians, it's basically an unstoppable force versus an unmovable object. Because she can just keep throwing guys, keep putting up more cryptoliths, infecting more people, which makes her armies bigger. And if we, like, mess up once and lose our ghost, then we're donezo. But with her, she can just keep throwing guys. As long as there's people for her to infect with the cryptoliths, she can just keep throwing people at us.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like with you made a really great point. I think the cryptolith thing is a loose end that's probably still going to continue.
Yeah,
and the only reason I say that is because some of the trailers that we got for Season of the Hunt, there's a lot of what was in that hasn't actually been fulfilled. Like, there's one particular shot that shows cryptoliths all over the Dreaming City. Now, we only have, I think, 3 locations where there's a cryptolith in the Dreaming City, if I'm not mistaken. Like, one
there's one in the Devilian Mists, one in the Spine of Caries, and one in the Garden of Asilla. Yeah. That's where all 3 of them are, in the Dreaming City, and then in the Tangled Shore, there's, I think, 3 or 4.
Oh, 3. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then there's 1 on the moon? No, I lied. There's 4 in the Dreaming City. There's also 1 in Harbinger Seclude, because that's where you do the final mission. So they're widespread in the Dreaming City, but there's none in the Strand, and there's none. There's none really in the Strand or Rhea Silva. Those 2 big patrol areas, but I remember that trailer because they also showed Wrathborn Cabal, which they're in the lore.
Yes.
We haven't seen yet, so I'm thinking you're right.
There's like an entire actual in-game scene where you see them, and then there's also in the background pyramids. Pyramid ships.
It's the pyramid thingy, little tiny ones that show up when the different zones in Europa are like stasisified, like you get enhanced stasis. So, yeah, no, definitely, it's either A, it hasn't happened yet, or B, it's cut content, which is possible, because I know, early on when they were showcasing stasis, the Titan Super had 2 fists of ice, and it was a little bit different than what it is now. People were like, hey, Bungie, what the heck is this? And I think one of the devs commented on it, saying that was an earlier build of what it was going to look like. So, I think it's kind of sad.
Well,
I liked having, I thought having, like, both ice fists, I thought that'd be cool, but... So, yeah,
How will you hold your gun if you have both ice fists?
Man, you're in your super. It doesn't matter. You don't need to use your gun. You're just gonna punch everyone with a block of ice.
Just gonna drop it and come back later?
Yes, just be like, Ghost, hold on to this for a sec. I'm about to go ape shit.
Well, probably, I don't know. Maybe just stow it and then save it for later.
Yeah, maybe.
Save this for later.
Some of the physics in Destiny is just outright insane. Some of the stuff that they have.
Yeah, that's definitely why it's because I know Lettuce Different. He's a really smart guy. He always is like, I'm gonna explain it with real life physics, and I'm like, that's cool, and it makes sense. However, space magic. Not like harping him on him for anything. He's doing a fantastic job, but sometimes I'm just like, there is the line where it's like suspension of disbelief. You just gotta roll with it.
Right.
That's a lot of what I do. I'm just like, you know what? I'm rolling with this. Do I understand the physics behind it? Absolutely not. I am not a physicist. I'm just
the probable space magic, and then the improbable.
Yes. Definitely.
I like it. Just you reach a point in every story where you have to be like, well, space magic.
Pretty much.
Really?
It's the best answer, isn't it? If from a developer standpoint, because you can just quell whatever the argument is. Oh, at least you hope. I mean, I think what it does is forfeit your right as the developer to have to get into a debate with a community member that, oh yeah, this is the science. It's like, just look, it's fictional, get with it.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think you and I were talking about this last week, Lucy, but like I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea that it's a fictitious thing like space magic that's doing it, as opposed to when fiction is like, yeah, no, we're going to be super grounded in science, and then they get to a point where they have to break science because it's like in the future or like whatever. Like what is it that movie Interstellar? I want to say did that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is really good, but you just broke science.
Yes. Well, I think with Interstellar, they did actually talk to, like, real physicists, and that's how they got the model for the black hole. And I think it was, like, at the time, it was, like, the most accurate simulation, or, like, computer render of, like, what a black hole looks like. I mean, obviously they probably added some, artisticness. But, like, the theories and everything all match.
Yeah, like, I think being grounded in science is great. I think that's what Bungie does for the most part, for sure. And I definitely appreciate all the effort that they go into to try and make things as what's the word? Give it as much like truthiness as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, for me, sort of reining us back in here, I gotta tell you, all that to consider, like how she gets the ghosts, how she's able to get out of the worm contract. I'm assuming that's going to involve some tricking of Mara, or like dishonesty toward Mara, to get her to do it. But I think it'd be really interesting if we hit a point and we go into her throne world and she's immediately have all these hive guardians to throw at us. I think there's kind of an argument, because even if you're in an illusion, you're in a simulation, that doesn't make necessarily the threat to your life or the threat to the last city like really all that much different. Because if we think about the Endless Night and Coria from last season, like, we were basically in a simulation the whole time. Hell, we may have even just only fought a simulation of Coria.
It is possible, yeah.
That's what I was
in the
hoping
Vex
as well.
network. And so if Coria is still around, I mean, who's to say? It'd be interesting. Yeah. So the one part holding me back on really like doubling down on that idea is, even though she's taken, I still don't think she can simulate paracausal stuff. So then I'd have to wonder, like, is the illusion...
Oh, is the illusion a trap, maybe?
Yeah, like, that's where I'm getting hung up on now. Like, where would the illusion be coming from? Or, like, where would it be coming from? Like, how is she illusion... You know what I mean? How is she tricking us? So that would be... That's my big thing. I think that's bugging me at this moment. I really like the idea, especially if it, comes from what ends up being like a chapter pull. Like they're like, well, we've cracked open this here pyramid ship, and now we're just doing all sorts of silly stuff. We can simulate the light. We can do this, that, the other, and I would be here for it. It'd be like, okay, yeah, this works. But the one thing that gets me, though, is, like, I get that we're going to her throne world. I don't know why she would let us.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I don't think it's I don't think it's a case of let us as more like, obviously we're paracausal, so we just literally brute force our way through, which is kind of what we've done through the entire of Destiny so far, is always broken into where we're not supposed to be.
That just makes me think all Guardian powers are actually centered around trying to like force your way into something. So now I think the ghost, those little beams of light, aren't them connecting to the interface. It's him punching it.
Yes.
Just little. Yeah, that's why it takes them so long. They just keep hitting it till it works.
into cooperation.
Yeah.
You will work. You will.
They don't.
Work.
Ghosts are entry level. Not even entry level. They're like just picked up an IT book yesterday. Help desk. They're trying whatever they can for us. It just so happens that we're even worse than they are.
No, that's it's a solid theory. It's a solid theory. If anything, it's funny. Yeah, I think like you said, it's interesting. I think that it's possible.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's why I was like, there's no way. How in the world does Savathun get access to such a massive like trump card? But at the end of the day, like she's kind of been there almost at every step of the way. Post Oryx, I want to say, because actually maybe pre and post, in a sense of that, like the whole Crota thing into the Vex world, that was intentional because she knew she needed a Vex mind to computate a ton of stuff that we still don't know what that is. She went after, like obviously she has Curia, and then moving forward, like she went for Callus, and what's also interesting is so did the Nine, and later on, if you read some of the lore, you'll notice how some of the events that happened, not only was the Nine involved, but Savathun was around at the same time, or happened to go after the same character. And I'm not certain if it's
that's definitely really
she's following the Nine, or the Nine was following her, but it's interesting. Absolutely. Either way.
Well, I guess that just makes me wonder, because I guess we hadn't really. The Vex absolutely have this quality about them where if you've met them once, there's a good chance you've known them your whole life after that, because of how they do. We saw it in the cinematic on Mercury when we were rescuing Saint, and so obviously she through his sisters tricked Crota into opening up this gate to wherever the Vex were, but it just really makes me wonder, how did she? I think is what you were kind of touching upon, Smart. How did she know to do that?
Yes, yeah, I do believe there's going to be some element of that. I think to not have that would be very anti-Savathun, and I don't think at this late stage in how she's revealed herself so far, though it would be limited. Though it has been limited, would it change necessarily? But I guess that's her whole thing, isn't it? The whole teasing you with, it's not the truth, but it is the truth, but it's not the truth, but really it is the truth. Ha ha ha! You don't really know what I'm doing. Kind of like, she's like that girl in school who just really likes to be aloof and plays tricks on you. But really has a hidden ulterior motive, and you still never know what it is. But yeah,
the machinations that she's been pulling for would have probably been like millennia, like just so much time. Is just wild.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Exactly.
So going back to the idea that what we see in her throne world is what she wants us to see.
But yeah, versus like obviously somebody like Oryx, who is Oryx was the I guess played more of the male lead role, and he was just very straight up. We're gonna chop everything in the universe to submission, so that we can become the final shape. And his whole thing was about becoming the king of shapes, but somehow spoke to the whatever he spoke to, and ended up becoming King Oryx. The Taken King is what his thing became. So it's just very interesting how he went in with one mindset and then came out with a completely different mindset altogether. And he knew that he wasn't like final form, and I feel like he knew he was going to die, because at the end, like, I know I haven't played Taken King, but the very last cutscene of when Oryx is dying and he leaves his sword, he knew, like, he was laughing, so it's like he knew what the end was going to be, and that we would still face so many other things that are yet to come. So it's like, ha ha ha, you think you've beaten the darkness, but I'm just like a minion compared to what you're yet to face, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like at the end of the first season when you finally beat the boss and he's like, I'm like rank bottom, you don't even, here's the rest of them. And then that's how the show, I'm thinking of like Power Rangers and stuff like that. You thought you were fighting the big baddie the whole time.
Or like Super Mario, where it's like the old NES Super Mario, where it's like, thanks Mario, but the princess is in another castle after like 100
Pretty
after
much, yeah.
breaking down 100 castles.
Ooh yeah, and all those dudes shaped like Bowser too, just to be a toad. Like, come on, why would he dress you up like a princess?
What? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Where is that princess? Where is she?
We had one goal. Yeah, I think there's always this level of when you have a character like Savathun, who's almost like Machiavelli, kind of like level of planning and insight into what their enemies will do. There's always this, like, you have to distrust everything. And so it makes me wonder, if we go into her throne world, we brute force our way in, what if, if she can make illusions, and let's say it doesn't change from what we know, let's say it's like limited to non-paracausal stuff, like simulation type rules, what if she starts showing us the Golden Age? What if she starts showing us who we were before we died?
Oh,
And
yeah,
messing with us
she
that
could
way.
easily do that. I mean, the biggest fear that I have is that Savathun getting access to the light, her figuring out what the light is, where it came from, and like what else it can do. And then obviously that danger then leading into Lightfall, which would fully explain the light. Like, I mean, I feel like we've had no premise or synopsis or description of what Lightfall is supposed to be other than the name, but the imagery suggests the light is going to fall, or they're saying Lightfall is in like, I don't know, like a victorious, and the light will fall upon people kind of, way of looking at it. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but anything's possible.
Like Nightfall, Lightfall.
Yeah,
burns out
exactly.
the world. I mean, I do wonder if we become victorious for the side of the light in the conflict between light and darkness. I wonder if that's just going to flood the world with light.
I think so, and then it'll probably like push out Big Bad. Because it'll be like, it's like a Thanos thing, I'll do it myself, kind of, and he grabs the gauntlet and then steps out, kind of thing. Because nobody else he's sent has been able to just get the job done and get rid of the darkness ultimately for good. But what is very curious about this whole segue from the Savathun's Throneworld into Lightfall into Final Shape is that in the Book of Unveiling, very begin. Which book is it? I'm trying to remember which book it is. One of the books. I think it's Gardener and the Winnower. I think it's that book, and it talks about how, in the beginning, how the light and the dark followed the rules. Played the roles they were given, or something like they played their given roles. I think is how it's written, and I was like, "Whoa, this is really interesting," because this is the only context in all Destiny lore where we hear anything about how the darkness and the light have been given a position. So that would assume that somebody gave them or put them in the roles that they're playing right now. And I was like, that's insane, because it means there's something else like worse than them.
Well, do you guys remember that show Reboot?
Yeah.
Nope.
Is that the animated 3D show?
Yeah. 3D show from Canada. It's probably before your time, Lissy. Don't feel bad. But quick rundown of it is this. It took place inside a computer, like someone's personal computer. And when games came in, that was bad because like the NPCs were like the bits of RAM and like your friends who were living in the computer with you.
I see.
And when the game would come down, they would reboot into their role. And so it just makes me wonder if Destiny is just one big game of reboot.
It's so funny that you said that, because I think when I first started doing Destiny lore, that was literally like the narrative that I ran with in the beginning, and I was just like, this is just one big loop. We're literally, I think it was around the time people were complaining about how Destiny content is slow, it's really dry, and now we've got Beyond Light, and I was like, you guys realize that this is like a refresh. This is a redo on everything that Bungie didn't get right the first time again, but with more added on the end, if that makes sense. Because I mean, that's at the end of the day, most great storylines are linear, right? You know, they start and then they end, and then somebody picks up the baton again, and then the whole story starts all over again. So even when we get Lightfall, there's this huge assumption that, is the Traveler going to end and the Darkness going to end? Yeah, maybe in their current form, but obviously they're two forms of light. So how do you destroy a light, if that makes sense? So eventually I would assume that, you know, the next stories will involve maybe just light in different ways. I kind of touched on that. The whole spectrum thing I was talking about last week, where I was like, there are so many other colors within a prism. So I was like, even if we don't have stasis, arc, solar, and void anymore, we might get, you know, earth, something like cloud, maybe earth, air, or something like, I don't know,
water,
something.
Heart,
exactly. With all powers combined.
That's right. We summoned Don Cheadle.
That gif gets me every time.
Dude, there's a whole video.
Oh, really? Oh, I need to see
of him
that.
in that costume. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, we're gonna pull that for you here. Yeah. You know, I think one thing that I've talked about before on the show with Lucy is we, for all intents and purposes, I feel like we've only ever dealt with pieces in the game. Mm-hmm. We've never dealt with the players.
Yep, it's intentional. I think anyway.
Yeah, and so I think players are probably what comes next. If I had to graduate level of threat,
I agree with you. I think Kaz PhD touched on that this weekend. He did a video where he was talking about the idea of changing the focus from a singular guardian to multiple, and he was talking about how in Beyond Light that was kind of the narrative that we had, right? We began with how stasis has arrived, and now one guardian heard the call, but then all the rest came running, and now there's like multiple guardians running around with stasis. Some are good, some are bad, but he was saying how exciting that is because it opens up room for more inclusivity and then diversity as well, because then everybody gets to tell their story within a story. And I think that, like you kind of just mentioned, we're moving into that a bit more, where it's like there are multiple story loops and everybody has a different take on how the story may end or begin. And that's kind of exciting too, because I guess it allows Bungie as a narrative team to play with the, all the ideas they've had so far, like Season of Chosen, the whole Cabal thing, and being united with the Fallen, our worst enemy. And, I guess as Mithrax mentioned it too, in Season of Splicer, where he was like, maybe even reconcile with the Hive, maybe this whole Savathun truth bending thing is actually about her wanting to be good and not bad, but she's just being cautious because she's Hive, and that's who she is. She has to do what she's got to do, kind of thing. Because I imagine if we're taking on Hive in her Throneworld and they have the light, then who's the winner? There's no winner of that battle, because everybody's respawning.
Yes.
Everybody's coming back unless you're literally destroying ghosts, and that can only go on so long, because every time one ghost goes down, another one replaces it, if that makes sense. So I don't know. It's not as if like we're going to be stripping the light from Hive Guardians, but maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's a whole new premise, and why we would need to harness the darkness more than the light, because now we need to start, removing, becoming darkness and removing the light from those who could be a threat and destroy, what's been built with the light so far. I don't know. I'm running on building a whole new game from this, but yeah.
But actually, that sounds like one of the expansions that I played, I think earlier this year, or maybe like end of last year, but Final Fantasy XIV. In one of the
cool.
in one of the expansions, you have to become, obviously, like throughout most of the game, and this isn't a spoiler, everyone, I promise. You're a warrior of light. In this expansion, you have to go to a realm of some characters that you'd met before, the Warriors of Darkness, and you have to be a Warrior of Darkness, because in that world the light won, and now it overruns everything, and it's the threat.
Oh, that's clever. I like that. Oh,
yeah.
That could totally be what Bungie's doing, and if that's the case, that's pretty exciting, because I guess it has this whole like internal battle of moral justice, because you are essentially saying just because you think something is bad doesn't always make it bad, but too much of a good thing can become a bad thing, and good people make bad choices all the time, and bad people make good choices too. So it's very interesting. That's clever. I like that, if that's what's happening. But yeah, it's cool.
I would be into it. I would be into it. Guys, I think I'm going to move us into scoring, unless there's anything else that we wanted to jive on before we get away from it here.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Okay, Lucy, would you like to score first?
I'm gonna score it 57 Hive Ghosts.
That's the most Hive Ghosts any theory has ever gotten.
10 out of 10. Well, no, I mean, I can definitely
Is
see
that a compliment?
Savathun.
Yeah.
I could definitely see Savathun pulling, this is all just a big trick on us, but it's a big but here. With everything we've seen Savathun do so far, I think it's more leaning towards Savathun actually stealing the light. I mean, you did say that part's true. The part that's not true is maybe like everything else that's going on there, which I could definitely see that. I guess it really depends on how much is fake and how much is true, I guess. And that's kind of the whole point of Savathun's whole expansion, is literally the tagline of it is survive the truth. So I could definitely see that possibly happening, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can go next here. I'm gonna give Is Everything an Illusion? Or is things not presented the way that they actually are, I think might be a better way to put it in Savathun's Throneworld.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I give it... I'm going to give it 38 simulations of Aurash.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm going to give it 38 simulations of Aurash. I don't know if it's going to be that the enemies are the illusion or the world is an illusion.
Yeah,
there is a lie about whatever's going on in there. I'm sure of that. So, yeah.
I mean, it's my own theory, so I don't...
That's where I'm at.
I'm going to give
Smart?
it a modest, 25 Hive Nights.
I score my own theories all the time, dude. Don't feel bad.
Simply
totally
because I want to be fair. Because it's an interesting theory. I've been wrong, but I think some of the framework is there for maybe what we can hope to see. There's going to be some illusion for sure, because it's just Savathun. Even if it's just there's a wall that looks real, but really it's invisible because you can walk through it. I totally anticipate some sort of gameplay mechanic in that sense.
Yeah, I definitely think there might be stuff like that, kind of like with what we've gotten in the Shattered Realm.
Okay. Shoutouts. Mr. Smart, do you have any shoutouts for us?
Yeah, just want to say thank you for having me on the show. I always appreciate it. It's always good fun and super relaxing. But yeah, shoutouts to Psalmlab family. Thank you for all the support, and also others in the Destiny community who always support the creations that I do. And also, huge shout out to Kaz PhD, who's also another lore content creator. If you don't know him, please check him out. He's actually streaming on Twitch right now, which is twitch.tv/KazPhD. I should probably be promoting my own link, but yeah. I always send everybody his way because he sends everybody my way as well. So it's like a partnership link referral thing. But yeah,
nice.
Love it. Nice. Kaz is a friend of the show as well, so we'll have to get him back on here sometime.
Definitely.
Now that he's away from Canada and back in his normal continent. Lucy, do you have any shoutouts?
Do I have any shoutouts? Oh man, I always hate this part. I'm always bad at thinking of people to shout out.
You're fine.
I don't know. I'm just gonna give a shout out to my partner, Kelsey. She's the best. 10 out of 10. She's super thoughtful. Cause earlier this week, I wasn't feeling good. I literally took Tuesday off from work because I wasn't feeling that good. And before work, she went to the store and got me medicine and chocolate because I was dying. I wasn't actually dying. I just had I sometimes wake up and just have these really, really, really bad migraines where I literally can't. To the point where I'm literally almost on the point of throwing up. I'm crying. It was a mess. And I was just I'm dying. And she went to the store and got me migraine medicine and a heating pad and chocolate, and it was really sweet of her. She didn't have to go out and do that because she had to leave for work soon, but she's nope, I'm doing this. You're important.
Aww.
So she's the best.
Well, yeah, that's awesome.
That's so nice.
That's my shout out. My shout out is to my partner Kelsey because she's number one.
Oh, love it. I'm gonna give a shout out to my dad. I'm gonna give a shout out to my dad. Since we last recorded, he my dad's pretty old. Had me, after he was over the hill into his 40s, and so my dad is going into retirement, and he was celebrated and honored at his church. He took me to growing up for 45 years of service.
Wow, that's amazing! Congrats.
Yeah. So I'm giving my shout out and all my honors to the old man here. I don't know if he listens to my show, but here's to you, Pop.
You might.
Have you sent him the link for the show?
I should. And then I'll get a call back like a week later. It's yeah, I can't figure out how to change. All I got is your fucking show now. No.
I thought you were going to say he's going to go, who is Savathun and what is this Destiny thing?
What is this Destiny? Yeah, no, that's my dad, because my dad's a very supportive of pretty much whatever I do. And so, he listens to the podcast, and he's always like, so this is what you mean when you talk about Destiny. Because, like, when I still lived with my parents, every morning when I'd wake up, I'd make, like, hot chocolate because I can't drink coffee. And he would make coffee because he's, he can have that. And I would tell him about Destiny lore. That would be, like, our morning thing. And now we can't do that anymore. So I'm kind of sad. But he still listens to the podcast, though. He still listens to the podcast. Aww. That's nice.
Yay! Well, my shout out is to Lucy's dad. Then welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome.
He's gonna listen. He'll be like, "Why are you guys talking about me?" No. My dad's like super chill. My dad's like probably the coolest person I know.
I can dig it.
Ouch.
Well, with that, everyone out there listening, thank you for stopping by again this week. Thanks again to Smart, to the Psalmlab. And we'll have links to all of his stuff, even though he sent you toward Kaz's way. We'll have links to all his stuff when we release here in a little bit. Dude. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, the listener. Thank you for stopping by once again to hear our thoughts on some Destiny and sometimes other game lore. Drink water. Weather's changing. Get some sleep. And take care of yourself. You deserve it.
Yeah, stay warm. I was going to say stay frosty. Was like that's the opposite. That's the opposite.
No.
Wherever you are in the world, wherever you are in the world, stay appropriately temperate.
Stay temperate. Yes, I like
temperate.
that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, appropriately temperate.
Right now because it's snowing still snowing, endless snow.
Awesome. Well, with that, everyone, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Doodles.
Bye.
Hats off, Guardians. That's it for this week's discussion. Have any questions or comments about this episode? You can reach out to us on Twitter @SpinfoilTheory or write us an email at spinfoiltheory@gmail.com. If you'd like to read our show notes, check out articles, listen to past episodes, and more, be sure to pay us a visit over at our website, spinfoiltheory.com.
The Lore Network.